Hey, I'm here with Rhett Turner today. Rhett, it's so great to have you. And you and I ran into each other a little earlier this year, and you had mentioned you have this book out, and it is a lovely, beautiful coffee table book that is hard to put down, hard to stop looking at your marvelous pictures in here about the vision of your father, with a foreword by President Carter. And the photography is by your hand and by your eye and by your heart. And it is absolutely beautiful. Did you have a hard time editing what to put into this book via your photos?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yes. When making the book and on location, I did the editing when we were on location so that it was I shot depends on where I was. Let's say the Flying D Ranch. I shot over 1,000 images on the Flying D Ranch, but I cut that down while I was there to about 60 to 70 of the best images
Wow.
per location. Went and did that. Depends on the magnitude of the property or wherever it was, but I did the editing day by day as I went along on the project, which made it a little bit easier. So when I came back, the majority of the selects were there, and then worked with our the designer in Seattle, Washington, and she did the final edit of the book. But I did it as I went along, which made it a lot easier.
I know it's a question you get wherever you go, and when someone may not recognize you by face, they recognize you by name. How is your father faring these days?
Good question. He is beating the odds. He has the best doctors on for Lewy body dementia, the best doctors in the country, and he's beating the odds and doing very well.
Does he spend most of his time in Atlanta or is he in Montana?
Right now, he's in Montana for the summer. I called him on Father's Day. We had a really nice conversation, and all went well.
He is greatly missed here with his presence. He is an irreplaceable figure who defined living in Atlanta for so long. And I think we are all grateful for his life and what he has meant to each and every one of us.
Absolutely, he's certainly an icon. Absolutely.
So, where are you going with this book from here? And are you doing anything in Atlanta? Do you have any showings of it? Do you have any gatherings?
Well, I good question. I had a the Cartersville Museum, the Booth Museum of Western Art, had an
Yeah.
exhibition that started in October of last year and went to March of last year. And that's northwest of Atlanta, up I-75 in the nice town of Cartersville. And we had a book signing there, and it went really well and very, very well received. I had a phone call from a person who got my name and said how wonderful the photography at the exhibition was. Now, that exhibition is a traveling exhibition, and right now it will go in January in Bozeman, Montana, at the Museum of the Rockies next January, and then after that it will go to New Mexico. So the book is doing really well, and it was printed in late 2022, and it has gotten one of three finalists, the High Plains Book Award, which is based out of Billings, Montana. And out of 296 submissions, I'm one of the top three. And then we'll have the award event will be in early October of this year. So things are going really well. The book is, by all standards, successful.
The land holdings of your father are immense, and they stretch out, the entire length of the country. And I think sometimes people are surprised by that. And at what point did he begin to amass all of that?
Well, that's a good question. He started getting land, or he started buying land in the early 80s, late 70s, and his first properties were in South Carolina, and he bought some properties in Georgia. He has three properties in the state of Georgia. As things got on, and by the late 80s, he was getting really wealthy, and that was a really good way for him to diversify his wealth, as well as he loved bison. He had bought bison at one of his properties in South Carolina, had a few head of bison, and he wanted to always see what it'd be like if I could have 2,000 or 3,000 head of bison going on a piece of land. I don't know where it's going to be sometime, but it turned out to be the Flying D Ranch, which he bought in 1989, and removed fences, removed housing, turned the property like it would have been before settlers showed up, and put bison on as quick as he could. And then within about 6 or 7 years of owning that property, his vision of having 3,000 to 4,000 bison on it were there, and them grunting and grazing and noises that hadn't been on that property for 100 years, because cattle were there, which is a different type of grazing animal, but still, it's the national mammal of our country. That's been a recent thing, but he knew that he wanted to see him out there, and it's been a very big success, and the ranch is worth a lot because of those bison are on there visually.
I think a lot of people would love to know the property that he owns in our state. Where's that?
Well, he owns 3 properties in our state. One of them is in the northeast Georgia mountains on the foothills of the Appalachian. It's close. It's on the Soquel River. It's a small property, and another one is north of Atlanta. We call that Crabapple Farm, and that's a very small property, a little over under 100 acres. And then the third one is Nonami, which is outside of Albany, Georgia. And those are in the beginning part of the book, and those are the 3 properties that are in Georgia, and they are very nice and incredible.
Do you have a favorite of all of them? I'm looking at a map of the United States with the properties right now, all of the Turner Wildlands. And is there one of these that you like more than others to hang out with?
Well, it depends on what time of the year it is. Right now, I'd love to go out to Montana and do trout fishing. Yeah. And I'm going to go out there and spend some time with my dad in mid-July. So I'll be visiting the Snowcrest Ranch, which is really, really beautiful. And I like the ranches out in New Mexico as well. My dad owns a little bit around 1 million acres, which is a lot of land in the state of New Mexico. And I love those properties there in New Mexico as well, which are Vermejo Park Ranch. I was just there in this month, and then I'm going to later on this year, I'll go to the ranches in the southern part, which are the Ladder Ranch and the Armendaris Ranch, which are both incredibly beautiful.
So, as I was looking at all of your pictures and reading through the book, I was thinking, what will these properties look like in 50 years when none of us are around? How do you see the evolution of these? Is it giving back to the government, back to private enterprise? Is there a long-term plan on how to deal with these remarkable sets of land?
Yes, that's a good question. And yes, there is a long-term plan. My dad is the largest landowner in the state of Nebraska. Huh. He's got 5, but that it totals above 500,000 acres of his land holdings, and that's where the majority of his bison ranch holdings are. Where a lot of bison, it's a lot of grass there in the sandlands of Nebraska, sand hills of Nebraska, and that's really where the majority of the income comes from. Those properties, the ones that are in the plains, which the states are South Dakota, Nebraska, and Kansas, and they're being put into a educational ARO, and that will stay as it is, and it will first off, it will be educational. The money goes in, and it's going to be a self-fulfilling, that the revenues that are generated are going to be using research and knowing how to take care of bison and figure out other problems that might come up in the future. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. We only know what's at the present, but things can change. So we've got a research institute that's going to be able to stay in the future and be there, as well as the other ranches that are in the in the western part, which are in New Mexico and Montana, and all of these things are going to be in perpetuity. Yes.
Your father is so remarkable, and I look at his life, and it's really a God-given gift. Is about the only way to explain someone who has this sort of vision, this long-term view of so many things that have been remarkably successful in his life, whether it's the land, or it's CNN, or it's TBS, or it's the Braves, or just how far ahead he was of everybody else. I mean, it's head shaking as we think about him. We look at his life in 2023, just about how far ahead he was from everybody else.
Absolutely, but there's very few people who are as visionary as him, and a little bit of luck along the way for sure. Not knowing how TBS buying the Braves in the mid 70s, how that would pan out for the city of Atlanta, as well as baseball fans across the country, when they were able to be broadcast nationally for so many years until that ended. But not just that, CNN and all these other ideas that are forward thinking. But I think the thing that's going to last longer than all of those things is the land is the most important thing. As Mr. O'Hara said to Scarlett, said, the land is the only thing that lasts. Right. And if we can keep it as pristine as we can in some areas, we're going to be very happy in the future. We have 40% of our land is in public hands. Our public hands. Every American owns 40% of America. So, and we're working on taking care of that. So, and we have private property as a part of that as well. So, and other folks are taking care of it. So he was, and the idea is other people pick up his mantle and do the same thing, and they are. So it's happening.
Anything else that you want to mention or that we haven't touched upon?
Well, I hope your listeners get a chance to go to Rizzoli website and look up Conserving America's Wildlands, the vision of Ted Turner, and then also look at it's on Amazon and other resellers, booksellers, and the book's a great book. It's a great coffee table book. Any person who wants it who has it would enjoy seeing something that not many people get an opportunity to take a look at.
Well, I'm grateful that it's sitting in my home as well. So thank you, Rhett. Thanks for making our coffee table at home significantly better than prior to meeting you.
Absolutely.